Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
Today I'm going to talk about how we got into hydroponic growing.
Well, I think you should start on this because back when you were interested in hydroponics, I was interested in marine biology, so I wasn't looking at hydroponics.
Well, I first got interested in growing hydroponically as a result of an article that I read in one of the magazines. I don't remember whether it's Popular Mechanics, Scientific American, or something like that. And that was probably around, I would guess, 1967 or thereabouts. I went to do a little research and I found a manual from the U.S. Navy that taught seamen how to grow things hydroponically. And that was used primarily in the Pacific Islands to produce fresh vegetables.
Right, basically they were stationing people on miscellaneous non-productive rocks in the middle of the Pacific, and they had to have vegetables or they'd wind up sick.
While I was in high school, my high school chemistry teacher, Mr. Likey, was a really kind of cool guy. I had a knack for chemistry and the analysis of unknowns, which is basically go figure out what chemicals are in a sample. I was really good at it. And we had a final that was going to be a final analysis of an unknown, but I couldn't do that until the end of the semester, so I had a bunch of weeks in between when I could do other things, and he was perfectly happy to have me do other things. So I started trying to figure out, how do I go make a nutrient solution? Well, the information I had was way above my head at that point in my life. It was really for graduate students in college who were chemists and biologists with a lot of information that I didn't have. I worked at it really hard. Hi, Isa.
She says, "You sitting down. I get to jump on you. My toes are cold."
So anyway, I did a bunch of research. I had access to all of the school's lab and lab equipment, but one of the things I found out was that we didn't have the kind of equipment necessary to analyze how much of each chemical was in the nutrient solution. It was thousands of dollars of equipment at that time, and so I just kind of put that off on the shelf and said, well, maybe one day. I was torn when I first went to college whether I was going to go do biology and the biosciences or I was going to do computer science, but I had a very, very long infatuation with computers and computer equipment and how they're designed and how they're used. So that was my major. I never really went back to do biology all that much. I did a few classes. It was interesting. I was working in the electronics industry. I was working for a semiconductor company as a section manager, and I was running a program with UC Berkeley and University of Massachusetts Amherst and several other schools around the country. And I did a lot of work with the people at UC Berkeley. And we had a program that we called the Berkeley Match Program, where I was making computer equipment available to the graduate students who were doing various projects. The projects had to be pre-approved by the company, but then we supplied them with single board computers that they could use to automate their particular project. And one of the projects was to automate a hydroponic system. Now, in 1980, Berkeley was a little bit of an interesting progressive environment. It had been for some time. And I was talking with the student, and he said, well, you know, the best book that I know of was called The Marijuana Grower Bible.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually called The Marijuana Grower's Guide. And no, I don't grow marijuana. No, I haven't grown marijuana.
But we could now, as of tomorrow, if we wanted to.
Yes,
it's legal in our state as of tomorrow.
Yes, Arizona permits marijuana cultivation, but I'm more interested in eating than I am in smoking. So I bought this book, and the book was originally published in 1978. And it was really great because it had a lot of theory, a lot of information, and a lot of information about how to put nutrient solutions together. This is really at the beginning when General Hydroponics started up, and they started doing nutrient solutions. Well, that was great but it was too expensive. We bought a couple of kits for growing houseplants in.
Right, yeah. One of the guys that you were working with, you know, people always have their sidelines. The women are selling Avon back then, or Tupperware.
Tupperware, a lot of Tupperware.
Yeah, a lot of Tupperware. And I still have some Harvest Yellow Tupperware that we use for watering the bird bath. One of your cohort was selling these hydroponic kits for, they were self-watering houseplants, but what they were is hydroponic kits. In fact, I'm still using the two of the flower pots that came as part of the kit, which tells you it was quality.
Yeah, it was a lot of money too.
Oh gosh, it was a lot of money. It was really hard to squeak out that kind of cash. I mean, we were a young couple. You were well paid for the time, but the price of a house in those days for rental was ridiculous. It's twice as big now, but...
Yeah, we were living in the California, San Francisco Bay Area, which was expensive then and more expensive now.
Right.
But it's this really nice little kit. You got some pots, you got some expanded clay balls,
which
hydroton,
which, you know, we have a 40-pound bucket of it out in the greenhouse.
and you got a nutrient solution that you just poured into some water and you poured that into the planter.
Right.
And I figured, well, let's give it a shot because it might be interesting, it might be useful, it might be a good experiment.
One of the reasons they developed it, I think, was because of the idea of not having dirt in your office environment.
Exactly.
You could have nice hanging plants in the office or on your divider between offices or anything like that and not have to worry about dirt.
Yeah, but my office was not conducive for this kind of growing because I had an interior office.
You didn't have a window.
No windows. In fact, I was at least one row behind any window. So there was windows, offices, an aisle, and my office. So there was no chance of having any sunlight into my office.
Right, but the point was to make it easy to have offices have, I mean, it had a little indicator that popped up when the water level was getting down too low. So that told you exactly how much water was in the plant. It was really handy. I liked it when the kids were little because I could tell just glancing at a hanging pot how much water was in the bottom.
Right.
And I didn't have to worry about overwatering and then having to get a towel because I was dripping all over the planet or any of that sort of thing. It was cool.
It was a great experiment. It was really nice, but it had one big problem. And that was the cost of the nutrient solution.
Well, the whole thing was expensive. They stuck it to you because they were selling you small quantities of the expanded clay balls, and you know, I mean, it was a designer thing. So while it was cool and it was a lot of fun to play with, and we used it for years, you know, it was. And actually, when we moved, we got rid of the plants and kept the planters because they were cool.
And you know, we've had those planters for 40 years.
Chris was a baby and he just turned 44. So
right.
yeah.
So we had them for 40 years, and so they're really high quality, which is great. Now, while this was going on, I decided that I was going to do a little more research on hydroponics because it still seemed like a good idea if I could figure out how to actually afford the nutrients.
Right, but getting information was not a simple thing.
I was an editor for a publisher, and they put out this book. And I said, well, I'll review the book for you if you'll send me the review copy, which they did. And I now have the 6th edition of this book. It was great because it had a lot of different growing techniques, a lot of different information, but still the nutrient solution was ridiculous in price as far as I could find.
Well, and what the other things they were requiring you to have at that time, I mean, like when I worked managing the chai company, it was expensive to get the measurement instruments.
Fast forward to YouTube and a lot of more information available on the internet. And I started looking around at information on the internet for hydroponics. And I looked at every manner of site that's available that you could possibly think of. Mm-hmm. Now, when I was first in management, I taught a lot of different courses. One of the courses that I didn't like teaching was teaching teamwork in terms of decision making, because the theory at that point was a team always makes a better decision than a single person. Well, my reaction at that time still is
BS.
if I'm going to have brain surgery, I want the world's most experienced brain surgeon who's had experience doing this kind of operation so I had the best chance for a good outcome. So I was looking for the same thing when it came to hydroponics. Now, Irene saw some that made hydroponics more approachable to her.
Right, right. There were people who there was really no automation. You basically went out a couple of times a day and poured some solution into stuff and everything else. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool in the sense that there was no overhead to speak of.
Well, the problem that I had with that is that we traveled with Irene's business, and I didn't want to rely on somebody else coming in and having to water our hydroponic system.
The guy who was promoting this lives in a pretty temperate climate. It doesn't get to be 110 degrees there. If
No.
it does, it makes the national news and the whole world has ended.
We'd put together the irrigation controller, so we had 12 zones out in our regular garden.
Right.
We were able to water that when we were gone. We could go for days and not worry about it.
You just make sure your water tanks are full when you leave.
So that was a really sweet way of handling the soil-based garden. Now, I kept on looking around the internet, and I found this fellow in North Carolina. I watched how he was doing things. And what struck me about this fellow was he'd done it a lot. He had experience growing on a hobby scale, home farmer, maybe a larger kind of environment, and he had success. He had tremendous success with tomatoes and peppers. And so I spend a lot of time looking at CB's Greenhouse and Garden. Now, if you haven't looked at CB's Greenhouse and Garden, you got to take the time to look at it.
Yeah, his stuff is great, and we've watched probably all of his old videos even, because sometimes when you're doing this for the first time, you need to hear it more than once. But then as you listen to it again and again, sometimes in different videos, it clicks into place, and you're like, oh, okay, gotcha.
So when we built this greenhouse, Irene did the initial work on trying to find out where we could get some of the parts. So she had the top rails here, and I've watched CB's videos a fair number of times. And one of the things I wish that we'd done with this greenhouse was I wish we'd built a knee wall like CB does, where it would be easy to put in insulation or to put screen up in the summer. It'd be a lot more flexible. The hoop house that we have as a greenhouse is great, but it's a pain in the neck to put insulation in and out on the sides.
Right. We've got it in now, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to take it out next summer.
I don't want to take it out.
Because it's in pretty well now.
I watched CB's early videos on how he built his hydroponic system. He has a really slick system. I wish I'd followed more of what he was doing. One of the things is that I learned this past year that I need to have my buckets in a single line, not have them staggered. I had them originally staggered so that we could plant other crops on one side.
We had originally planned to put something else in the buckets that would not need daily maintenance or wouldn't get tall. And having 2 rows of tall plants just didn't work.
It was not a good thing.
Right.
I encourage you, if you're looking at doing a hydroponic system, take a look at what CB's doing. It's really, really good. I've learned since I started watching him that he has a lot more experience in hydroponics, which is fabulous. I'll tell you, you can read research reports from universities all day long. You can get all kinds of interesting information, but you know what? Most of those reports rely on a single trial, or at most a small number of trials.
Well, and the ones that don't are in automated systems. We're not going to have that. I mean, our equivalent of an automated system is a pump that runs water several times a day on a timer, and bubble zones and things like that. But we're not going to have the automated heater that comes on and heats the water at 3 degrees and then shuts off.
And the chiller to cool it down.
And the chiller to cool it off in the summertime, because it takes too much power.
Well, it's too much power and it's way too much money.
Yeah, but some of the stuff, you could get some aquarium heaters and stuff like that to do some of the things, but still, it would be too much power here because we're off-grid. I mean, we have a robust solar system, especially since we redid it this past summer. It still has limitations, and for instance, this week, I don't think we've had a single sunny day that was a solid sunny day. It just happens.
CB's in the middle of building a second tomato greenhouse. I really encourage you to go back and watch that process. And then go back and look at how he's building some of those things in some of the earlier videos. It's really good information. I used some techniques that I knew from my youth when I worked in a greenhouse in my neighborhood. That was a soil greenhouse. It was heated with steam. It was glass. It was very, very tall, so cooling it in the summer was easy. You popped the top windows, you popped the bottom windows, and you had really good airflow. You didn't have a lot of pests, and when you had pests, heavens forbid, they used bad stuff. There's a lot of new information and new techniques, and CB's right on top of them. So I really, really encourage, this is probably the third or fourth time I've said I encourage you to go watch CB's materials.
Well, he makes it easy. You want to get the basics, and he gives it to you in a way that is totally approachable. If you can do any kind of cooking in your kitchen where you need to use a tablespoon or a cup or anything like that, you use an old blender and you use a couple of measuring spoons and you've got it. That's it.
Well, one of the things I can tell you is that I started off using some store-bought nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
They worked fine. They were also pretty close to $100 every time I needed to change the nutrient solution, so I wasn't in a hot hurry to change the nutrient solution. Now, CB showed me how to really cut through the cost issue. He has a really simple way that works, especially for tomatoes and for peppers, that, as Irene says, if you can measure with a teaspoon, you can do his method just perfectly fine. We're using a recirculating system. We're using Dutch buckets. We happen to be using perlite for the media inside the bucket. It works well. CB uses the same thing. It's a whole lot cheaper to use perlite than it is to use expanded clay or any other material.
Right. You could get perlite at any decent garden center. And, you might pay $30 for a bag, but it's a bag that's, this tall and that big around. It's a big fluffy bag. And you can wash it and reuse it and all that sort of stuff. You eventually consume it, but it takes a while.
Now, the thing that really sold me on what CB's doing is that another channel that we watch, which is Spring Hill Farms.
They're in Canada.
Chose to use CB's formulation for their flow to waste. That's a different technique of using hydroponics for some of their tomatoes. And they had great success. So, again, I highly endorse and highly recommend that you take a look at CB's information because it just plain works.
Right, and if you're interested in flow to waste, take a look at Spring Hill Farms. Their success. This is how they make their living. What I want to learn from is people who are successes. And CB is a success.
Well, thanks very much for watching. I hope this provided you some information about how we got into hydroponics and what kind of motivated me to continue pursuing hydroponics, and how we've made at least a partial success of hydroponics in our greenhouse.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to hit that notification bell because we have lots more going on. We're going to do a bunch of planting, we're going to be doing a bunch of other stuff, and we're going to be resetting up our hydroponic system again this year. We've already started rebuilding some of it. We've got a couple of videos out there talking about some of the basic restructuring we're doing. We're basing it partially on what CB is doing and partially what works in our environment. So be sure to come back.
Thanks for watching. We'll talk with you later.
Bye.
Bye.